What's up, guys? Jordan Stupar here, and I am sitting with a new face in my office. Like any sales team, I'm growing, and I hired my new guy, Brock. Brock, how's it going?
Doing great, man.
Good. Brock wasn't expecting to be on video today, but I figured I would record a valuable lesson that I'm going to do with him that you guys should be doing with your teams, because obviously Brock is brand new here. He came here for one reason. You came here for the dinero, right?
Oh, of course.
He wants to make money like any sales professional wants to do, and like any business owner, I want to see him make a lot of money because then my business is doing well, and it's just rewarding to see other people doing well.
100%.
So, with this being said, this is unscripted. We haven't talked about any of this stuff first, but I'm going to show him and I'm going to show you the income action plan, and it's extremely valuable. It's something that I taught myself a couple years ago in my normal sales position, trying to figure out how to make, 600, 700 grand in a year and what type of work ethic was required to hit those numbers. So I'm going to ask Brock, and again, this is unscripted. Brock, in your first 12 months of working here at Stupar Enterprises, how much money do you want to earn?
I have my eye on $250,000.
$250,000 is what Brock wants to take home in the first 12 months. Now, in order to do this effectively, you're going to need a pen. You're likely going to need a calculator in case you're dumb at math like I am. And you're going to need something to write on. And that's all you really need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this $250,000 that Brock mentioned to me that he wants to earn. And I'll be the first one to tell you I'm rooting for you. Now, the other question I would have is, Brock, have you ever earned $250,000 before?
No.
Have you ever done 150?
Not yet.
You ever done 100?
Not yet.
Okay, no problem. Now we have to help Brock understand how to actually get there, because you've not been that far yet into the income or earned it. So we just need to do some simple math. Now, I'll be the first person to tell you that your average deal here, you just pick up the phone, average person says, yeah, let's do something. You're going to make about $1,250. Make sense so far?
Yeah.
Cool. So for all of you listening, write down your annual goal or monthly target or whatever you wanted to do. I'm going to go annually because it just makes the numbers work easier here, and that's what we're working on. So Brock, he wants to make $250,000, and we're going to take that number and we're going to divide it by the $1,250 of the average commission that he could be taking home. In which case, this year in the next 12 months, if Brock can get 200 people to say, yeah, man, let's do some business, I'm going to be paying him $250,000. Pretty simple. You tracking with me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, what we also need to figure out is how many times does Brock need to pitch the product, or rather, how many people does he need to pitch the product to in order to get one person to say, yeah, man, I want to work with you. Now, I can tell you over here, and you'll get better at this, but I think in your first 12 months, you can bank on, say, a 25% closing ratio. Meaning, for those of you that aren't very good at math, he's got to pitch four deals to bank on one person saying yes. In which case, if we have 200 deals that we need to close, I'm going to multiply that by 4 because that's how many people he needs to pitch. In which case, he's going to have to pitch 800 different deals over the course of the next 12 months. At a 25% closing ratio with no improvement, he can bank on closing 200 people on an average ticket of $1,250, in which case he's making $250,000. Makes sense still?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the next question we need to figure out is, Jordan, if I was going to get my product in front of 800 people, how many appointments do I actually need to set? Well, I'll be the first one to tell you that you're probably looking at about a 50% appointment show rate, in which case we take the 800 pitches, multiply it by 2, and we know that Brock has to set 1,600 appointments in the next 12 months. Seems like a lot, right?
Yeah.
It is a lot. But again, half of them aren't going to show up. So you only get to pitch 800 people. Now, if you had a 100% closing ratio, that changes the math a little bit. But we want to make sure that this is realistic so that Brock can have a good chance of hitting that $250,000. Now, the only other thing that we've got to figure out, now that we know that we've got to set 1,600 appointments for you, is how many phone calls does it take to get one appointment set. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 1,600 appointments that we know that Brock has to set, and we're going to say that it's going to take about 35-ish phone calls to set one appointment. So we're going to take the 1,600 appointments multiplied by 35 calls, which means that Brock, in the next 12 months, has to make 56,000 phone calls. It's a lot of phone calls. Does it feel like a lot of phone calls?
That sounds like a ton of phone calls.
You ever sat down and just made 56,000 phone calls?
I would probably have gone mad.
Yeah, you'd probably go mad, but you'll have $250,000 in the bank account.
Yeah.
But, of course, this is over a year.
Yeah, it's over
We don't
a
need
year.
to stress ourselves out by forcing yourself into an office and just, mindlessly calling 56,000 people. What we can also do is we can give you a little bit of free time, Brock.
That'd be nice.
Let's say that Brock wants a very nice work-life balance. Let's say that he wants all of his holidays, he wants all of his weekends, and maybe even his own birthday. He doesn't want to work. So I know in this calendar year, 2021, that there's about 221 full business days, not including weekends or holidays. So we're going to take 56,000 phone calls divided by 221 working days, which means that all Brock has to do is he has to show up Monday through Friday on normal work weeks. You can take your holidays off. You can take your weekends. You don't have to do any work. No phone calls.
Sounds pretty good.
And all you have to do is make 253 phone calls on your normal day when you come here into the office. And so I can tell you with a reasonable margin of error, plus or minus some, that if you sat down here for the next 12 months, you didn't come in on any holidays, you didn't come in on any Saturdays or Sundays, and you only came in on normal working American business days, and you sat down and you made 253 phone calls, that theoretically you'd schedule 1,600 appointments, you'd have 800 people show up, and you would close 25% of them, 200 people, on the average deal, and then you would get paid how much?
$250,000.
$250,000 in that year. Pretty simple math. Does that feel like this big goal that you've never accomplished before? Do you feel as though it feels a little closer?
Oh, 100%.
Because
I feel like I could take action on it.
100%. And now you can sit down every single day and know what you need to do. I don't need to manage you every day and be like, I just need you to make more phone calls. More phone calls for what? If Brock doesn't want to make 250,000, he only wants to make 40,000. Well, then I can tell him to make more phone calls, but he doesn't necessarily need to make more phone calls because it won't take very much. So the point is, for you business owners, for you managers out there, this is a very valuable exercise that you can run with your people that, one, will help give them perspective as to what it is going to be required out of them from an activity level to hit their goals. And do you feel like just better about your goals anyway?
100%.
Like, it's not just this random, like, oh man, I hope I do it. It's like, Here's how to do it.
Yep.
So having an income action plan is extremely valuable. This is something that I do with every single one of my employees. This is something I do for myself. And of course, if you really want to dig into this, there's a lot of different levers that you can pull to manipulate the numbers. What if your closing ratio goes up by 33%? Well, then you don't have to do as many presentations, schedule as many appointments, or make as many phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say that you now want to say, I want to make $500,000 this year. Well, now let's maybe talk about increasing your show rates. Let's talk about increasing closing, so on and so forth. Maybe you don't have to make 35 phone calls to schedule one appointment because you learn some things about social media, branding, whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of opportunity available for Brock here. And as, again, an owner of a company, I want Brock to be successful. If you want your team to be successful, I want you to download a free and really cool income action plan. You can download it, give it to your team, and I would encourage you, if you're a manager, if you're a leader, you're the owner, sit down with your team for 10 minutes and do the math so that your people know what they need to do in order to hit their goals. Because their goals are more important than your goals. His 250 grand income is way more than what I would have set on him as far as a quota is concerned, or a goal for him. If I was the one setting it, I would have set like 100 grand because you've never done that before. Mm-hmm. And if you make 100 grand, I know my business is making money. So the point is, put your people on track for success. And then, of course, give us a call when you want to start digging into the different levers that you can pull to increase the skill set so that your people can ultimately do way better than 250,000. And that's my plan for you.
Yeah.
Do you still want to make 250,000?
Yeah. 100%.
What about 350?
I think it's possible.
We'll get him there. By the way, what's like the goal here?
The goal here?
Long-term goal. What do you want? How much do you want to have liquid in the bank based off of sales production, not a bunch of all the investments I know you said you're going to make. But like, what do you want to? If you had 5 years working here, what do you want to have in the bank at the end of 5 years?
Purely in the bank, probably close to $1.5 million.
Doable.
Totally.
In fact, I'm calling it. In 5 years, he'll be a millionaire. Watch. This is going to be one of those cool throwbacks where I can like go back to the video when you have $1 million, be like, remember when I called that on October 4th, 2021? This is one of those moments.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, go get to work. You got 253 phone calls to make.
Yeah, sounds good. And remember, failure to plan is a plan to fail.
What he said. Can you see why I hired him?